If you've been watching our landscape photography adventures here in Banff National Park, you'll already know that we have faced some frigid temperatures. This morning, the temperature dropped to minus 25 Celsius in Lake Louise, and while we might be willing to brave those conditions, our camera gear might not be up to the task, as I was just about to learn the hard way. Now, as most of you probably know, I shoot with Sony cameras, so that means you should probably get used to seeing battery exhausted on a regular basis. We arrived just in the nick of time, so I ran straight to this spot and captured a few shots of this extremely juicy morning light.
I've been waiting for this shot for years. I've driven all the way out here to Mount Sheridan. I don't know if you pronounce it Sheridan or Kefren, but this is a joy for me because I've tried so many times to get this shot and I've failed, and I'm here with Thomas Heaton, Nick Page, Adam Gibbs. It's their first time ever in this place, and we checked the forecast, and for once everything lined up and we got perfect conditions. It's minus 24 Celsius. And we got here just in time. We had to run through knee-deep snow just to get here, and I mean, look at this scene. I've got my favourite kind of frost, this hoarfrost, where you get these lovely flowers, got cracks and shapes in the ice, and of course the absolutely essential alpenglow that we've been chasing all week. Oh man, I am so ecstatically happy right now. What about you?
Oh, phenomenal. Although I have to say I'm a bit concerned when you just sat down and the entire ice cracked and started to shudder, and now we've got water leaking in through a crack right behind you.
Maybe I should move. But regardless, let's just keep shooting while we get these perfect conditions. Well, that was like all my Christmases and birthdays came at once, but as Tom pointed out, my considerable girth was making the ice crack and shift, and water started popping up.
Yeah, it's not good, mate. This was open water yesterday.
Yeah, so sometimes I have to be sensible to some degree.
Right, I'm off. I can hear that cracking. Jesus Christ.
So in a rare moment of sensibleness, I moved higher up to the meadow just above the lake.
Well, I've moved on from that first location because it was a little bit sketchy. I don't know if you can see the ice in my whiskers there, but it's very, very cold. And that's the problem with these face masks, is when you breathe into them, the moisture sticks in the mask and then forms on your whiskers. So yeah, not entirely comfortable, but I'm sure it looks really cool. But yeah, so I've come up to this meadow over here where it's in the summer, believe it or not, if I get further back, you can actually shoot the Milky Way just over the top of the mountain there. And I've even seen leeches in this swamp. Somehow they find something around here to leech off, but I'm sure they're all either dead or do leeches hibernate? I have no clue, but no leeches today. But yeah, I'm going to see if I can compose a shot with this beautiful little tree and get a little bit more of the other mountains in the distance.
Well, after being spoiled by those amazingly beautiful hoarfrost formations and ice shapes back on the ice of the lake, I just wasn't feeling it on this meadow with these trees. All I could think about was getting back down onto the ice and putting those beautiful shapes in the foreground of that mountain.
Well, I couldn't resist it. I had to go back. After the whole mountain lit up, I had to go back to that beautiful patch of hoarfrost, and I composed this vertical shot where there's this little notch, this kind of arrow-shaped notch just there in that patch of ice, which kind of mirrors the shape of the mountain there. So I'll show you that shot now.
In the Canadian Rockies, it's not all that often that you get conditions like these. I mean, we got perfect light, beautiful hoarfrost, simply tremendous.
And what I'm finding really challenging, at minus 20, I think it's minus 26 now, nothing works. My tripod is completely seized up, so I can't extend my tripod legs to get it at full height, so I'm shooting everything low to the ground. The camera's shutter is really seizing up. All the controls are not working properly and everything's covered in ice, so it's so challenging. And of course, because I shoot Sony, I see battery exhausted every 5 minutes. Thanks, Sony. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to have enough batteries to last the day. What I usually do is open my a lens bag, put all my batteries in there, put a couple of hand warmers in, keeps them toasty. But even then, because they're Sony batteries, they're just like, you're popping them like Tic Tacs, they're useless. Anyway, I think I'll head further down the end of the lake where it turns into a river, see what Thomas and Adam have found. There's this lovely bit of mist that's rising off that little bit of open water there, so maybe they've found something quite tasty. So let's go and have a look.
Well, I did catch up with Tom and Adam, but by the time I got there, I'd burned through 7 batteries and I was down to my last 11%. I'd also been fighting this persistent cold for the last few days, and I was losing patience with my failing photography equipment.
I'm feeling a bit beaten down because batteries have failed, tripod legs won't open, ball head fails, LCD screen doesn't work. Everything is failing in these temperatures, and not just camera equipment, I'll tell you. So I'm feeling pretty beaten and done, ready to get back to the car, heat up, maybe have some coffee and recharge these pathetic batteries. Well, I'm going through this strange mixture of emotions right now, because on the one hand I'm absolutely ecstatic because I got that shot that I've been chasing for years, and I'm very, very happy with it. But on the other side of the coin, I'm really annoyed and frustrated with my equipment, and it wasn't in the best of condition before I got here. And when I used to live in Calgary, I would spend between 20 and 30 hours a week out here doing this, and I was quite well practiced at dealing with the cold. But clearly I am out of practice and out of shape. Because this has been a struggle, this has been an exercise in frustration. So it was so difficult because I crept out there on the ice and it was really precarious. Tom could hear it cracking all around me. It was very sketchy, not very wise. And so you kind of want to be quick, you want to get your shot and get out. But I'd line up the shot and then the battery would die, battery exhausted. So then I'd have to go back to my camera bag, which was off the ice because I don't want that extra weight on the ice. Get a battery, put the battery in. Well, then the EVF is fogged up and now I can't see anything, and the LCD wasn't working at all, and then the ball head starts to seize up, none of the tripod legs will extend, everything becomes an absolute pain, and it's very, very difficult to achieve the simplest of goals. The things that you can do easily on a day-to-day basis are almost impossible. And at the same time, you've got ice forming on your eyelashes and your whiskers and your nose hairs, and you can feel frostbite starting to nip at your ears. So that was frustrating, but it was also absolute redemption. It was, you know, absolute joy. It was everything that we do in landscape photography. It's that abject misery interspersed with complete ecstasy. So it's, you know, as a landscape photographer, you'll go through this on a regular basis, this misery and joy. Well, the joy was so big today that I think it outweighed all of the misery. But I'm going to have to do a full audit of all of my gear. I'm going to have to thaw every piece of tripod equipment. I'm going to have to recharge all my batteries. I'm going to have to tighten up nuts on the tripods, clean my sensor, clean my lenses, and I'm really worried about the shutter seizing up on that thing. So I think I might even be in the market for a new camera. All right, on to the next shoot.
The plan was to head north to shoot Tangle Peak at sunset, but we got caught in this mountain traffic jam. Now, I'd already had the back of my vehicle rammed by a hairy beast on this trip. I didn't need the front of my vehicle getting messed up too, and I'm still dealing with the repairs for that, by the way, Mr. Page. So we sat patiently and waited for these bighorn sheep to enjoy their salty snack. The Icefields Parkway on the road to Jasper National Park is actually one of my favourite driving experiences, but after days of driving around the clock I was starting to fade, so it was Heaton's turn to take the wheel, and he actually did quite well for a guy from Lancashire. When we got to Tangle Peak, the light was terrible, so it was time for some winter shenanigans. When it's cold enough, you can throw boiling hot water up into the air and it comes down as snow. We waited around for a few hours. Uncle Grumpy made his tea, which takes at least an hour, but the light wasn't changing, so we headed home empty-handed.
So far, how have you liked your Canadian Rockies adventure?
Yeah, it's good. I haven't got my eye in yet. I don't feel like I know the area well enough. I think I was looking through my images that I shot yesterday, and I just wasn't overly happy, especially that sunrise we got. I feel like it's just a rushed image. I found the composition really boring because I just didn't know the area. So I'm still not finding my feet in terms of what I want to get out of this trip, but absolutely having a blast.
Well, if we get the right type of ice conditions in the ice cave today, we won't care about the light. We'll get brilliant shots as long as the temperatures have given us the right kind and size of ice.
It's been warm though, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's my concern, but it's kind of nice to be free of worrying about light.
Yeah, no, I'm excited because I've never really shot anything like that before.
Yeah.
So it's a bit different for me. I think what I'm after, I want to make use of all this snow and find some minimalist, kind of really empty scenes with just
like a lone tree in a field.
A lone tree in a field or a moose just crossing the snow. That'd be nice.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, cheers.
And how have you been liking the food here in Canada?
Oh, top quality, you know. Undercooked pancakes, overcooked bacon, soggy pizzas, and overpriced jerky.
Yeah. Bargain, eh?
Very good. No, this is great. This is another world for me, another planet. And I've got the photographer's jet lag, which is fantastic. Bouncing out of bed at 5 in the morning.
Has it caught up with you now?
No.
Oh.
No, not yet. No, I mean, I'm still on UK time, which is perfect for photography.
Yeah.
You know, I was on my laptop this morning. Winning the day. Win the morning, win the day. That's what they say.
This guy.
What is he doing?
Just can't drive.
Careful, mate, you might drive. I want my brunch first. Got wet knees, I'm cold, got a deep chill.
While you're here though, we need to make sure that you experience the Canadian delight of Tim Hortons coffee.
Tim Hortons, I think I might have heard about this. Is there a thing at Tim Hortons called a double-double?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
You should try it.
I will do. But there's nothing here.
Well, there's one in Banff.
Right, that's where we're heading today. Through Banff, is that right?
No, we won't be going to Banff, but at some point we will hit Banff, and you will experience a double-double at Tim Hortons.
Double-double at Tim Hortons, sounds good to me.